Hey, welcome back everyone to the Brawl in the Family podcast.
This one's all about Star Fox.
Star Fox! We are Star Fox! That's right, the classic Nintendo series that's, I guess it's a little more of a B-list series compared to, it's not like a Mario or a Zelda exactly, but it's got its fans, it's got kind of a rich history, which we'll be going over with you today. And, of course, there's a new Star Fox game that just came out, Star Fox Zero, which we briefly touched upon in the last podcast. Now we can touch it some more. So, we'll plan to be doing some of that, and we will also be looking at a full Star Fox retrospective to kind of bring us up to speed. So, Star Fox began in 1993 on the Super Nintendo system. It was one of the Nintendo series that actually debuted on the SNES.
Yeah, that's because most series on the Super Nintendo, they just released like an upgraded version and called it, the Super Blank version of the series.
Yeah. Super Metroid, Super Zelda, I think that was the name of it.
Yep,
yeah.
Super Mario, obviously.
Super Mario, because it was already
Super Mario. Right.
But yeah, Star Fox was an original concept, and this concept came to be because the market was starting to move towards polygonal games. That was kind of seen as the next wave of the future, and Nintendo wanted to kind of get in on that. So in addition to Donkey Kong Country, which was a 3D game in sort of a different way, it was kind of a pre-rendered look, they also wanted to kind of go into the actual field of 3D gameplay. And the Super Nintendo alone was not quite strong enough to handle that. But used in conjunction with a specific type of chip, it would be able to, and that's where the Super FX chip came from, which allowed games, even on the SNES, to kind of have that polygonal 3D look and 3D environments. I mean, that's pretty impressive for a 16-bit system. So Star Fox actually got a pretty good amount of traction. I heard it actually had 1.7 million pre-orders and day one sales, which is a pretty big deal.
Wow.
And I remember it coming out. I remember it having kind of this big marketing push, and it was sort of weird because everything was like a triangle, because it was super rudimentary 3D. But it definitely felt like a shoot 'em up behind in 3D. If you look at an old game like Gradius or Life Force, or more recent one would be like Ikaruga. They don't make games like that a whole lot these days, but they were a big deal for a while, and Star Fox was one of the first ones I can think of that was just kind of that type of game in a 3D environment. So you're still moving forward at a set pace for the most part, and you're still kind of limited in the planes of a field you can go into. You can't really go all the way to the left and do a U-turn or whatever.
Right.
But it was a 3D shooter game, and I mean, honestly, it was pretty cool when it came out. It was very difficult. It had really good music.
Yep.
Nowadays, I'd say it's a little hard to go back to, just because the frame rate's so low, and sometimes it just looks like an explosion of triangles everywhere.
Yep.
But I did borrow my brother's copy of Star Fox, and I plan to actually beat the game, which I haven't actually beaten all three paths. There's 3 different difficulties, and each one has completely unique levels. So I'm planning on going back to that and seeing how it holds up.
It's a difficult game. When I was a kid, I enjoyed it, but I barely ever got past, the 3rd level or something.
Oh yeah, so you never beat Andros?
No, I never did.
On the SNES. Okay. Yeah, it was tough. It was cool though, and I really like the soundtrack. I maintain that its soundtrack is still the best in the series.
I would agree with that.
So after Star Fox 1, they went on to it was a big hit, so they decided to make a sequel, Star Fox 2. And this actually had kind of a lot of innovative features that were added into it, such as all-range mode, which actually did let you do 3D gameplay in terms of being able to turn around and go backwards, that kind of thing.
Right.
It added Star Wolf, which kind of became a big staple of the series, and it also added multiplayer. In addition to that, they had an R-Wing transformation where the R-Wing would actually transform into a bipedal mechanical walker, which should sound familiar.
Oh no, I didn't know that.
Yeah, you didn't know that?
No.
That was it should sound, that element should sound familiar to Star Fox Zero players, where they finally brought that mechanism back. But yeah, it was here in Star Fox 2. It had 2 new characters as well on Team Star Fox. I think their names were Faye and Miyu, I believe. Mm-hmm. And they were a poodle and a cheetah or something, like a cat. They were both a couple of female characters. But unfortunately, Star Fox 2 was canceled when it was, it was like 95% complete. It was really close to being done. It was so close to being done, there's actually fan translations out there where you can actually go out and play the game.
Yeah.
I think Nintendo wanted to focus on the Nintendo 64, but it seems like a kind of a weird choice to just kind of cancel a game that had pretty much been finished.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a mystery. I think a lot of people have been asking for Star Fox 2 to make a comeback so they could play through it, because I hear good things about this this beta version that's sort of floating around there on the internet ether.
Yeah, if it's nearly finished, I don't see why not, especially because nowadays when you can release it digitally, it's not like back then where you'd have to pay for all the, distribution for the physical copy. I think it would be a really cool thing for them to do.
Yeah. All right, Chris, you want to tell us a little bit about Star Fox 64?
Star Fox 64 would be my favorite in the series. So they took the basic mechanic of Star Fox, which is kind of piloting this spaceship away from the player, into the 3D world in front of you, and shooting enemies along the way, which is kind of in a linear fashion. And they expanded that. They had the all-range mode, which lets you have kind of open areas where you could really go in all three directions. They added a score mechanic to the game that brought a lot of replayability for me. I replayed the game a lot to try to get the high scores. With the charge shot mechanic, they created lots of new strategic ways to get points.
Right. Like enemies would fly in formations and such.
Yeah, and if you hit them just right, you get bonus points for doing so.
Yeah. So it was kind of a cool new element to the gameplay where you're looking for these flocks of enemies that are kind of, they'll be in a V shape or an X shape or something, and you want to kind of move your cursor towards, it homes in right on the center of them. You get bonus points, and they had metal like benchmarks where you would receive rewards for hitting those benchmarks and stuff. But yeah, that was definitely a cool innovation for Star Fox.
Yeah, and the other thing the game did, whereas in the first Star Fox you kind of have 3 paths that you can take through the game, which each have unique levels, in Star Fox 64, these paths became much more organic, and each level could be, many levels could be completed in different ways that would open up new paths to take. So every time you can play the game several times, and each time might be different because of completing some levels differently.
Right. And it actually introduced one of the biggest innovations that's still being used today in video games, which is force feedback.
Yes, that was the first game with the Rumble Pack, huh?
Yeah, the Rumble Pack, for those of you who weren't around for the 64 era, it was a sort of bulky little gray square thing that would plug into the back of the Nintendo 64 controller.
Yep.
Which had a port in the back of it, and it would give you force feedback whenever you launched a huge bomb or you shot down at an enemy boss or something. And I remember like this was kind of the early days of the internet, and like your friends are in middle school or whatever, and they're like, "Ugh, this is stupid. Why would anyone want why would anyone want the game to shake for that?" And look, it's still being done today, and it's pretty much in the exact same form as it was back then on the 64 days. It's like 1997. So that was a pretty major innovation, I think, and it came with the game. It came bundled with it.
I thought it added a lot. There are many games in which that force feedback provides a better connection to the events that are going on. It makes you feel like more connected to the explosions and stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of a subtle thing, You're not always super aware of it, but it kind of helps give you that extra bit of impact, when you get hit or when you let off a huge explosion or something.
And another thing the game did was it had fully voice acted characters.
That's right.
In the original Star Fox, they had very brief, repeating voice clips.
Yeah, can I do it?
Yeah, do it.
You dab, 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 blub, 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 blub.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what you would hear a lot. Right when you start the game, you hear all 4 of the members do their little voice clips.
Yeah, but in the Star Fox 64, there was lots of recorded voice dialogue throughout the whole game. The game was very quotable.
It's quiet. Too quiet.
Jeez Louise, what is that?
Step on the gas. Cocky little freaks. Who are you guys? We are Star Fox.
Daddy screamed real good before he died.
What the heck?
Fox, look behind you.
Recover our base from the enemy army. You're very lucky.
You'll never defeat Andros.
Fox, get this guy off me. Hey Einstein, I'm on your side. So that was Star Fox 64. a little taste of Star Fox 64 from us. There's one thing I want to criticize about this game, and that's I don't think the soundtrack is very good.
Hey, now I'll disagree with that. I thought it was a good soundtrack, not as good as the original, no. But then again, I haven't played the game in a while, so perhaps my memory is a little rough.
One thing I don't like is that I love the original game soundtrack, and it felt like when Star Fox 64 came along, it just kind of replaced all those songs with new ones.
True.
And they just they weren't quite as exciting to me. Like I really like that boom 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 boom, and they kind of replaced it with that from. I don't feel like I'm going anywhere very fast with this song. It's just kind of like this sort of march thing, and it's kind of slow, and it's like I don't know. I think a big part of it was the Nintendo 64 sound samples. With here, I want you to play the first few seconds of Corneria from the Super NES, and then play the first few seconds of Corneria from the Nintendo 64 version. Because Corneria in 64 kind of starts with this, like that's what it does. And I mean the horns just they don't sound like anything. They just kind of this purr. Anyway, we'll move on. Let's move on to Star Fox Adventures, everyone's favorite game,
formerly known as Dinosaur Planet.
Yep, until Miyamoto said, "Hey, this guy Saber looks a lot like Fox McCloud." He kind of joked about that, and then he was like, "I'm not joking. Make him Fox McCloud." Actually, I don't really know how it went down, but that's pretty much it. Miyamoto made some comment about that, and I guess maybe Rare had talked about making the game a Star Fox game after that. But yeah, it was originally featured two characters, Saber and Crystal, who would both be the protagonists, and they were kind of Fox characters, I guess, and it'd be kind of a Zelda game. But yeah, Star Fox Adventures was not really a shooter. It had some shooter levels, but it was mostly an adventure game like Zelda. But I mean, it didn't really catch on. I played a good amount of it, but it was, I don't know. I guess it didn't really work for me. It felt a little dull.
If I could pick a point at which the Star Fox franchise became a B-list franchise, it would be Star Fox Adventures, because the Star Fox brand, as you mentioned, is kind of tacked on to the game. There are a few of the traditional Star Fox shooting segments, but they're decidedly less interesting than Star Fox 64's segments were. They're just like a kind of a tacked on mini game, essentially, to the meat of the game. The game itself didn't really stand out in any way. The graphics were nice, had some neat little fur effects and stuff, but it was kind of a...
Yeah, it definitely looked nice.
But it felt just kind of like a knockoff, kind of dull Zelda clone sort of thing.
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't really get into more specifics than what I've said, because I mean, I haven't played it in like 15 years.
Yeah.
But I just don't remember being very compelling in terms of like the gameplay, or I remember there being kind of a lot of collectibles, but they weren't really that rewarding to collect. Like in Zelda, it feels kind of like the stuff you're finding has more of a purpose and it's more fun to use.
Yeah, and there wasn't in Zelda. You have other characters, you have other like towns and stuff to visit, and they didn't really have that in Star Fox Adventures. It was just kind of a bunch of levels to run through, and you hit some guys with your stick, and then collect some stuff and give it to somebody. It's just not very compelling, really.
You pay this much.
That guy.
Do you remember that guy?
Yeah, I remember that guy.
Okay, I'll sell it to you.
You can kind of barter with him. That guy was kind of fun.
Yeah, but as I recall, the mechanics were pretty easy to exploit, because you just there was like just a certain number at which you could get the product. So
yeah, you could just keep ticking it down until it sells.
Yeah.
Or ticking it up a little bit. Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, let's move on. Star Fox Assault,
which had the best pre-order bonus of any Star Fox game.
Wait, what?
Remember?
I don't remember this.
Yeah, if you pre-ordered Star Fox Assault for GameCube, it came with the Assault and Peppy shakers.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Assault and Peppy. That's great.
Yeah, it is pretty great. But the game was not as good.
Game was not as good. This was by Namco. It was like a coalition.
Yeah.
It was 10 stages. I think my main problem with Star Fox Assault was that there wasn't a whole lot of content to it.
No.
I remember enjoying the on-rails levels well enough, but there were like, honestly, like maybe like 3 of them.
Yeah.
There were 3 or 4 all-range mode levels, and there were 3 or 4 new, like, on-foot levels, where you're running around as Fox on foot.
You should never run around as Fox on foot in a Star Fox game. You should also never run around as a little walker on foot in a Star Fox game. Yeah, Star Fox should be fast and frantic, and you're blowing stuff up the whole time. That's Star Fox. If you break that up, you are not. You're going the wrong way.
So you didn't like running around these areas and looking for the little targets and stuff.
No, because first of all, the
you gotta blow up 10 targets. I don't know if it was 10. It was a number of targets.
It felt like a chore. It felt like you have to hop out of your vehicle and run around and like press some buttons or blow something up inside something.
I think there wasn't quite enough to stay engaged that much whenever you're on foot.
Yeah.
I mean the scale of the world is, you know, not terribly big when you're in an R-wing and you're zooming around, you know.
Yeah.
When you hop out of the R-wing, it's like, oh man, the distance between these buildings is kind of far. I can't really speed up very much.
It really slowed down the experience. You're kind of having to go in these little caves and stuff. It made me wonder why I was doing this rather than blowing stuff up in my R-wing.
Yeah, I did like Assault's soundtrack.
Yeah,
actually.
Yeah.
It was fully orchestrated, which is I don't think any Star Fox game has done that since or before. And it sounded pretty good. I mean, it used a lot of Star Fox 64 songs. It had some original music. But I mean, I was like, well, you know, they put some budget into the soundtrack, which is kind of nice.
Yep.
I was less excited about the voice acting. Didn't quite have the same kind of charm.
No.
But one thing I do like about Star Fox Assault, besides the soundtrack, I actually also like the multiplayer. I'll give it some props for the multiplayer.
Yeah.
It was pretty decent. It had kind of the Smash Brothers-esque unlockable system where you would play like X number of games and unlock another thing, and there were kind of a lot of them. There was like different weapons, there were different modes. There's a fair amount of them. I ended up kind of liking the multiplayer, and what I was gonna say actually was this was a game that kind of looked beyond Star Fox and Star Fox 64, like that original story, and kind of explored like what would happen next.
Yeah.
So like Andrew Oikini, who was Andross's nephew, Uncle Andros, you know, that guy decided to make his own like army and try to be the next Andross, and he just totally failed at it because he was like the first boss and he was kind of a loser.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
But I mean, that makes sense, you know. And Pigma betrayed Starwolf, of course, and now he's off on his own doing his own thing,
right?
Being a jerk, and that makes sense too. And Starwolf has like a new member because it lost 2 of its members because they're idiots. You know, that stuff all kind of makes sense. There was a new threat to the galaxy. They didn't just go back to the Andross well.
Yeah.
So I liked that approach to the storytelling. The story itself wasn't, you know, really anything special, but it was something like, I was like, I didn't know what was going to happen, so point in Assault's favor, I guess.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think I liked Assault more than Adventures. Assault and Peppy.
I did not find the enemy threat in Assault to be particularly inspired. It was just like
the bugs.
Yeah, space bugs sort of thing.
It would have been nice if they had more personality.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, not that Andross has a ton of personality either, but I like his like different. You know, he's got all those generals and stuff, and they're kind of fun. They have lines.
Yeah.
You know, they talk.
They're kind of dopey, but they have some character to them.
Yeah.
And I didn't really get that from the bugs.
Yeah. So after Assault, you have the last Star Fox game for a good while, probably 10 years or more.
Yeah.
Star Fox Command. Have you played Star Fox Command? Because I haven't.
Not very much, but I did play it. Yeah, I played it for about maybe like 3 hours or so.
Oh, okay. So tell us about Star Fox Command, Chris.
The combat is very similar to, say, Star Fox 64 in all-range mode. The three-dimensional flight, being able to navigate through terrain and shoot enemies, that's all pretty much like Star Fox 64. But they added this mechanic, kind of a strategic overlay of each level, where you direct how your ships are traveling through the stage, and enemy ships are also flying through the stage on their own accord. So you have to complete objectives and destroy enemies by combining the two. So there's some element of strategy to the game. It was quite good, actually. I didn't play a lot of it, but I liked it, and I thought it was well designed, and it seemed like a nice kind of offshoot Star Fox game.
That's interesting. Okay, I kind of feel like trying it out because I hear kind of mixed things about it, but some people really like it, and I hear that it has like a bunch of different like endings.
Oh yeah,
and they're like really endings.
Very different endings, yeah.
They're like this character, and this ending, this character turns rogue because this character died, and in this ending, Slippy gets married. You know, it's like it's like things that are like, wow, I don't know if they could like have a game following this. You know? It's a bunch of kind of what ifs, I guess.
Yeah, that's why it kind of felt like a kind of a fun like side story, not like a canon entry in the Star Fox saga, really. But then again, what is a canon entry at this point?
Yeah, it's hard to say.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that.
Okay, so that's Star Fox Command. All right, so enough talking about the past. Let's talk about the future, or the present at least. We won't talk about the future. I don't know what's coming up next. So that brings us to today, Star Fox Zero, which is done by Shigeru Miyamoto. It's kind of the I would say the second game he's really been hands-on with for the Wii U besides Pikmin 3. And, well, I guess third if you count Star Fox Guard, which was kind of really simultaneous.
And now this was also developed by Platinum Games.
Yeah, it's a collaboration between Nintendo and Platinum Games. I remember when they showed this off, it had kind of a weird sort of muted reveal. There was actually a Time article that leaked before E3 had started that I stumbled upon, and I posted on a message board, and I googled it, and nobody knew about it, right? So I'm like, whoa, I'm the only one that knows about this new Star Fox game. So I posted it on a message board, and all of a sudden everyone started talking about it. So that was kind of cool. I was at ground zero for the reveal of, well, the leak of Star Fox Zero.
But the reveal wasn't very impressive.
The reveal was kind of weird because it was like a hinted thing. It's like this kind of camera, like some creepers watching Miyamoto play a game.
Yeah.
You know? It's kind of peeking around the corner. It's like, hey, Miyamoto, what you doing? You know, and Shiggy kind of turns around kind of knowingly. And you can see sort of a blurry R-Wing on the screen. So it's kind of like, oh, it's a hint of things to come. All right. So you kind of figured, like, okay, maybe we'll see a little more Star Fox near the end of the show. We kind of don't. We sort of just get that. And it sort of had more of a reveal E3 after, E3 2014, with the puppets. You know, we had the puppets.
Yeah.
Miyamoto talks about the game. So it's like, okay, we got the puppets here. We're talking about the game. That's pretty cool. What else you got? And then they kind of didn't really have anything else for the Wii U. But that was E3 2014. So now we're here in 2014? Yeah, that's right. It got delayed. Yeah, so it was originally supposed to come out Christmas 2015, and it got delayed to April 2016.
March, wasn't it? I have a quote from you, actually.
A quote from me? From the big book of Matthew quotes.
I'm quoting Matthew Taranto here. Zero was supposed to come out on Christmas. Then in the springtime, it's almost March, and it's expectedly pushed back until August or something dumb. That was you.
Well, it was almost March when we recorded that, I believe. Yeah. August or something. Do I sound like that? Is that how I sound? All right, so this game has a controversy. You know, controversy. It has a control controversy. The idea behind the game that Miyamoto really wanted to push was having a cockpit view on the gamepad and an R-Wing sort of flight view on the top screen, where you're controlling your R-Wing on the top screen, and when you look down the gamepad, you can make adjustments, more subtle adjustments to your cursor, so that instead of the cursor being tied to your R-Wing's movement, like in past Star Fox games, they could be independent of each other. Right. And early, impressions from E3 were sort of mixed on this sort of multitasking element. They found it kind of difficult to work with. And the reviews came out, and some people really liked the game, some people really hated it. There was sort of a big variety of things, so it ended up kind of in a sort of mediocre, like, average due to this kind of, a big part of it is this control controversy. So we're here to talk about Star Fox Zero. I think I was really angry about it last podcast. I hadn't played it. I was kind of aggravated about, like, the impressions being mixed, the sort of the story being kind of a retelling of Star Fox 64. And so I got in this game, and Chris had rented it, and we had both played through it, and we decided just to talk about it on the podcast. You know, we haven't really talked about Star Fox Zero yet, so I don't know how Chris feels about it. He doesn't, I guess, know how I feel about it. Alright, so let's talk about Star Fox Zero. So I went in kind of skeptical, but I really wanted a Star Fox game that felt like super dynamic, that had like storyline where it's really unpredictable, like maybe this guy betrays this guy and it's like, oh, what's gonna happen next? Instead, Star Fox Zero is pretty much a retelling of Star Fox 64, which was a retelling of
the original
Star Fox on the SNES. So that's pretty much what you get. The beginning and the ending are pretty similar. The stuff in the middle is new because it's new levels. It's not a remake, but that's pretty much what you get as far as story goes.
I would say it's more like a reboot than a remake. Because it takes the ideas of Star Fox 64, the whole setting, all the planets and stuff, but it doesn't really redo the same levels. It just it is definitely a reboot. It's
like when you have the Spider-Man movies come out, and all of a sudden he's bitten by a radioactive spider again. Yeah. And but the new stuff's happening, but it still has those plot beats. You know, his uncle gets killed. I mean, spoilers, and then he becomes Spider-Man.
It's like they made Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, and then like 10 years later, they made Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield with no other movies in between. It's like you didn't even make it Star Fox. You didn't even make Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 3 or whatever.
Oh wait! I see what you're saying. Like if there was not a sequel to but there were other Star Foxes. There was Star Fox Assault and Star Fox. We just went through this. He went on an adventure on the dinosaur planet. You missed out. There were dinosaurs.
But at this point, I'm wondering. Well, I don't know if we want to talk about this now. I'm wondering what is canon because.
Oh man, I don't know what's
which
canon.
games have a continuous storyline? Because I liked that Assault, like you said, Assault did tell a future storyline. It continued the Star Fox storyline, but really, all we have to go on for story is really Star Fox Assault and the other three.
And Command, like with the endings. Did that happen?
No. I think it's pretty safe to say that Command did not happen canonically because of all the various endings.
Oh yeah, okay. So what you're asking me is, does Uncle Grippy exist?
Yeah, that's what I'm curious about.
That's what we have to know.
I think he does. I think he does.
It's a valid question. Okay, so I'm going to say it now. I really like this game.
Huh.
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed this game. I went in really skeptical. I started it up. I was kind of struggling for a while. I ran into stuff a lot. The game kind of ticked me off with like some of the very obvious Star Fox 64 leanings. Yeah. But, you know, I beat the game. I went back and I started playing some more. I started shooting for medals. I was having a lot of fun.
Really?
I mean, I was going in. I was shooting for high scores. And I would sort of perfect my technique. I started getting the hang of the controls. I started really enjoying the mechanics of the scoring system. And it felt like I would watch videos of Star Fox Zero and just see the main screen. And it'd be like, wow, this Arving's just kind of floating here, going slowly. Yeah. There's not really a whole lot going on. But then when I'm playing the game, it's like I'm constantly moving around looking for targets to shoot. There's things coming in from like kind of every angle. My ship's not necessarily moving super fast, but there's a lot to process for my mind. So it feels like when I finish a level, I gotta go towel off. Like, there's a lot going on, and you know, I'm hitting the brakes the whole time trying to lock on all the enemy formations and stuff. Yeah. There's a new mechanic in the scoring system where when you blow up an enemy and it kind of hits the other ones, their flaming wreckage sort of flies outward. And you can shoot that wreckage to get bonus points. It'll say hit +1, like in orange, when you shoot that wreckage.
I didn't know that.
So there's sort of a mechanic where you're not necessarily always trying to lock in on stuff, because a lot of times the lock-in thing will not make the flaming wreckage happen. It'll just obliterate them. So sometimes you're trying to actually shoot them out of the air. There's a way you can charge your beam and not lock on and just try to hit them with the charge beam and then shoot the debris. So there was kind of that mechanic. There's 5 medals in each level that are pretty devious to get. One of them is from hitting the high score, but one's from like getting the 3 sort of special sort of golden rings. One is to get the mission accomplished thing instead of just mission complete, which usually involves hitting some sort of specific guideline that's not actually made clear to you. But yeah, there's a fair amount of challenge here, and this is my opinion. You know, I understand that a lot of people are not going to just ever get used to the controls, or in the case of Polygon, they're not going to give them a fair chance, which they review the game after like 2 hours and didn't even finish it and said, we're not going to review this. This is a mess. We can't play this. You know, you can't finish a game that takes less than amount of time it takes to watch a movie. You know, games are supposed to be challenging. There's an element of gaming where you should be learning the controls and adapting.
Yep.
You know, like Kid Icarus Uprising is one of my favorite games of this generation, and it's got really weird controls. Yep. But the thing is, they work when you learn them and you know how they work. Like, they don't glitch out on you or anything. They work the way they should work. But a lot of times people don't want to put that effort into learning the controls. They'll feel that dual analog is the king, and if nothing's dual analog, then I don't want to be a part of it. But you know what? Dual analog was new at 1.2. So games like that, games like the remake, the Resident Evil remake, where it's sort of unorthodox, but the game is built around it, I think there's an element of skill building there that's admirable. And it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. And I don't think the controls are perfect, because I think my biggest gripe with them is that you can actually somersault and flip by switching the analog sticks. And I prefer the button press, because a lot of times when I'm trying to do fancy things, I'll end up doing a somersault.
Yeah, I've done that too.
And it's frustrating, you know, especially when you're trying to actually get high scores and stuff, and Fox is flipping around in his R-Wing like a nut. You know, Fox, what's going on? What are you doing? You know, he's just like, I don't know, I can't get the hang of this. But for the most part, it worked for me, and it took some time for it to really click. It honestly took a couple hours. But I mean, you know, a couple hours is what we give RPGs, you know, before they really start to click too.
Sure.
So I will acknowledge that the controls are unorthodox. I will acknowledge that they're kind of weird and that they kind of require you to look back and forth a lot. And it's not going to be for everyone. I think if someone had a big problem with the controls and it really affected their enjoyment of the game, that opinion is valid. You know, I've seen plenty of reviews that gave the game a fair shake and just didn't like it. And I mean, that's fine. I ended up I had a lot of fun with it. It's not my favorite Star Fox game, but I think I would pretty comfortably put it behind the original and 64 game as a pretty solid third.
Huh. Well, I agree with some of those points. I definitely agree with that the scoring mechanics in the game are quite good. They did a good job kind of taking what Star Fox 64 did and upgrading it and making it really pretty fun to look for the high scores and how to get the best score. And I didn't actually realize that you can shoot those flaming wreckages for bonus points, so that adds an extra layer to it. But one of my complaints with that is that only about half the levels really go there with the high scoring and the being fast-paced and exciting. For instance, I know people have complained about this level, but the level in Zonus, I think that is a terrible level. I think it's just it flies against everything that Star Fox should be. That level should have been removed from the game, basically. It's incredibly slow. There's all these invisible walls all over the place.
Yeah, it's like. Okay, you're saying like, Zonus, for those of you that aren't familiar, you're using the gyrocopter, which is one of the vehicles, and it's definitely the slowest of the vehicles. It doesn't actually have an accelerator, and when you press A, you release this little robot called Direct Eye, who's like kind of tethered on there. It sounds like that. Do you remember that episode of Futurama with the little card that's like, "I love my mom"?
Yeah.
It sounds like that card.
Yeah, you're right.
They got that card to voice Direct Eye. I'm not gonna attempt to do that.
Accessing computer.
Yeah, it's a little bit like that. It's a lock deactivated. It's kind of like that. Yeah. So Direct Eye, yeah, kind of iffy. I'll agree there. The Zonus thing, the first time through was kind of a slog. You know, you're kind of puttering around, and yeah, I had that same frustration where I was trying to fly over something, but I would just bump into an invisible wall. I can kind of see what they were going for, like a more like exploratory kind of Star Fox stage, but it was kind of like Assault in that. It doesn't have the design qualities of like a good Zelda dungeon or something.
No, really, the design is what gets me the most, because it was just kind of labyrinthine, but not in an interesting way. Like there were a bunch of the robots sitting around the place, and you could shoot the bombs to blow them up, or you could shoot the things to drop the rail on them and kill them.
Yeah, the beam.
But
for what? For what, Chris?
It wasn't fun. It wasn't fun. It was...
Did not enjoy Direct Eye. I think the Direct Eye mechanic was... it wasn't that great. It kind of felt like going through extra steps for something similar. Like why not just shoot the laser to deactivate?
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of thing. Like why do I have to kind of hover above it and release the
But I thought the level was almost as bad, or maybe even... It was equally bad when you replayed it with the R-Wing.
Oh, so you found a different route.
Yeah. But the level is basically the same. It's just instead of using Direct Eye, you can access the computers with the Walker mode. But it was just as the level itself is kind of barren. There's no life to it. All the invisible walls are really distracting. Many corners of the map are just kind of flat and gray. So
so there weren't really many visual landmarks.
Yeah, it just looks dull.
You end up kind of going in circles and sort of puttering around.
Yeah, I got confused multiple times figuring out, wait, which way am I going? And at one point there's a button that's behind a bomb, and you have to press that button to get to the second reactor or whatever. But I was flying all around like, what the heck? What am I supposed to do? And
there's a button behind a bomb.
Yeah, behind one of those little green bombs.
I'm trying to remember this now. Like there's a
button you have to press.
What does the button do? It opens up.
Yeah, it opens a big force field to get to the second power plant.
Oh, okay.
And that bothered me because the level is on a timer.
Yeah. When you're in the R-Wing, it is.
Yeah. And I was flying around looking for everything and blowing everything up, and I found that kind of a frustrating little.
It does have. I might agree on Zonus. Zonus is a little bit of a slog. There's a little bit of a slog. It kind of has an unnecessary gameplay element to it, and it actually has one of the dumbest medals that you can get. You have to get the 10 silver coins, and for 2 of them to get them, you have to actually turn off a spotlight and then turn it back on.
What?
and that makes the silver coin appear. And what the heck is that?
That is dumb. That's
like
really dumb.
why even do that? That was a kind of a rookie mistake. I was kind of surprised they left that in. That's a weird thing to do. All right, so let's move on past the gyrocopter. Didn't like the gyrocopter.
No, didn't like the gyrocopter.
Chris didn't like gyrocopter.
But many of the levels are fast-paced and fun.
What did you think of just the all-range mode levels in general? Like,
Actually, the all-range mode I don't like as much because they feel very slow. I feel that they're very spaced out and big compared to in Star Fox 64. You can often cross the whole map in all-range mode in just a few seconds. I mean, I don't know, 10, 20 seconds. Maybe I'm misremembering, but they're not as big. In Star Fox Zero, they're huge. So, for example, the boss at the end of the level right before Venom, circling that arena are these little destructible pieces of space junk that you can blow them up and get like a ring from them or something.
Yeah.
But they're so far apart, like.
Yeah, it's like you'll see a ring in the distance.
That's too big. It made me feel like I was moving very slowly in the R-Wing, and I felt like when you're having to literally hold boost for like 10 seconds to get to a ring, or longer than that, the all-range mode levels kind of lacked some oomph in general.
I think some of the boss fights felt kind of barren like that to me.
Yeah.
But for the other all-range modes, I mean the other all-range mode levels that were more like, there was the one where you're fighting there's a bunch of cannons, and they have that big cannon that kind of shoots through its shield, you know?
Yeah.
Like I thought that was pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Like you have the I mean, it's probably still kind of a fairly big arena, but it feels like there's more stuff to do. You know, there's stuff here to shoot, there's stuff here to shoot, there's ships kind of flying around. But yeah, the boss you're talking about, yeah, I remember that being kind of a big, large arena when you're sort of zooming forward. But I will say that I like how they expanded the boost meter. They made it a lot bigger, and they made it fill up a lot faster.
That's true.
So it feels like it feels like you have more control over the speed of your R-Wing, like in all range mode or in the rail mode, where you can really decide to hit the brakes for a long time to shoot stuff, or just speed through stuff.
I kind of liked the dual analog controls in the game. On one hand, I kind of liked them, but I felt like it was symptomatic of how I felt the game had a lot of different control ideas and tried to combine them all, and each one was a decent idea, but I don't think the execution was very good. For example, you already mentioned with the right analog stick, it's very easy to accidentally, do a flip or a somersault.
Yeah, that was a weird thing. They should have been able to, I mean, we should have just been able to disable that, because it's already mapped on the buttons.
Right. And as well, it makes it more difficult to do barrel rolls. It's kind of annoying. Yeah, to hit the stick twice in a direction to barrel roll, it does not feel intuitive. It's kind of, compared to Star Fox 64, it's really easy to just hit the button twice, and it's easy to integrate barrel rolls into your gameplay in Star Fox 64 because you're constantly leaning left and right with the triggers, with the shoulder buttons. And
so you just tap it again.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't like the way it felt in Star Fox Zero.
I think see, to me it kind of felt like a little bit of a trade-off. Like, you can barrel roll to deflect lasers, but you can also, but you kind of lose that bit of mobility for that moment, Like, you can't boost and barrel roll at the same time, which, you could boost and barrel, you could boost and barrel roll at the same time on the 64 game, but I don't necessarily see that as... I know it's obviously a little bit less control in that way, but I also kind of see it as sort of a trade-off. Like, do you speed up or do you try to reflect lasers? So I didn't mind that as much. I can pull off the barrel rolls pretty consistently.
I felt that the cockpit view generally was okay, but I didn't feel that it served much of a purpose. Like, I felt like most of the time when I'm shooting something with the cockpit view, I can pretty much shoot it on the screen. It's just kind of giving me a slightly better angle. I think it would have felt more intuitive to me if by moving the gamepad around, it moved the entire screen. As it works, it moves like the little reticle on it. So it's not like a one-to-one, like, for instance, if you're sitting in a chair with the gamepad and you swivel around, it's not like the view is moving with you.
Right, so, you're not looking at... It's not like... what's a game? I think Splatoon might do that? I want to say Splatoon, but I'm not 100% sure now.
I know that like games that use it as a view pad, a camera or something, I think Zombie U did it.
It's like holding a window into another world,
right?
Kind of look into. Okay,
that would have felt much more intuitive to me. As it is, I don't feel like a direct connection to that movement. It just feels like it feels like a I get what I'm doing, so I'm like it doesn't feel natural. And I think if it was different in that way, that might have helped it feel more natural to me. And I like what I read about the multiplayer mode, because the multiplayer mode allows you to have one person controlling the flight and one person controlling the shooting. I
got to play a few levels in multiplayer. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. I think part of the problem is that on some levels, for instance, boss levels, they will change the camera completely. So on the big screen, you'll just see like you'll be orbiting a central location, or the big boss or whatever. So the big screen becomes almost useless for navigating, and you've really got to use the controller.
Yeah, that really threw me for a while. Like the first couple times I was doing that, I was kind of like, I think it works better for some bosses than for others. You mentioned the R-Wing Zonus, so I figured you had fought the Aqua Rosa boss, where it's the water boss with the lasers. I thought it worked pretty well on that boss because you were able to circle it on the top screen and kind of see when it was doing its big force field move, while on the bottom screen you could target the specific targets. And it became sort of a balancing act between knowing when to run away and when to use your bottom screen to shoot. And I thought that was a pretty good example of how the dual screen mechanic could work. But for other bosses, it felt a little weirder when you're sort of, especially like when I first played the game, I had no idea why like I was locking on to like Pigma, but he was behind me, but like I wasn't shooting him. So I was like, what's going on with this? This is crazy. So yeah, I mean that definitely took some getting used to. I mean, regarding the control scheme, I don't think it's like... I think Miyamoto really wanted it to be sort of this big step forward. I don't really think it's that, unfortunately. I like them. I like playing the game, but it's sort of... I don't think it's a replacement for how we already play games, or even like using a control stick in like IR with the Wiimote or something. Yeah. It's mostly like the bottom screen is a first-person view. You know how you could switch between first and third-person view in Star Fox. I mean, you could even make the top screen your cockpit view if you press minus. And typically what I'll do is I'll stick to the cockpit view if I'm going for high scores. If I'm going for like survival, I'll stick with the top view. If kind of a little both, I'll alternate some. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much how I played the game. Like when I went back to go for the high score medals, I would mostly focus on the cockpit view and just kind of take some of the hits without playing as much defensively. So it's a little bit of offense and defense. But I mean, I agree with you in that it's not like... I don't think it's really a revolutionary thing, like it's necessarily a big improvement over what came before. But they do design the game around this mechanic, which I like. So like you'll be fighting a boss and it has like weak points and stuff, and you can kind of pick them off by looking at the cockpit. Just stuff that wouldn't really be possible with, or it wouldn't be as accurate just using the top screen.
But a complaint of mine is that it forces you to do that. Like on the boss levels, you pretty much have to make use of the gamepad to fly in one direction and point the gun in the other direction with the gamepad to hit the target. Because a lot of these new weapons in the game that the enemies have are these like big red lasers that shoot in one direction. So if you're flying straight at them, they're going to hit you. So they basically force you to fly, tangentially to them, and then and then shooting them sideways.
I mean, that's true. That's meant to make you sort of utilize both. You know, the whole escape while shooting thing. I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing. I mean, the game should feel built around its control scheme, right?
I felt less connected to the action rather than the straightforward Star Fox shooting action, which I felt like it diminished. I didn't like the Akarosa boss. It was pretty frustrating. First of all, I don't like the time limits. On pretty much all these boss battles and levels that have time limits, I don't know why they have them, because it makes it pretty frustrating. Especially Akarosa, like it takes a long time, or it can take a long time to whittle it down, because especially in the last half of the fight, the shield is constantly expanding like non-stop, and it's really hard to get close, so you kind of have to whittle it down pretty slowly. And yeah, sure, once you get a little better at it, you can beat it faster, but I don't see why they chose to have a time limit on that, because if you're I was chipping away at it and I thought I was doing pretty well, and then the time ran out, which was pretty frustrating.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's never fun to lose, I guess. But did you feel it was an appropriate challenge?
No.
You felt it was inappropriate? No.
No.
No, I didn't. You thought it was inappropriate. I mean, I had trouble with him. I mean, I died on him, but I don't know. I liked dying on him. I liked it. What'd you think? Oh yeah, okay, let's do some spoiler talk.
Okay.
All right, so spoilers for Star Fox Zero. Skip ahead to this timestamp. Boom! If you want to skip the spoilers. All right, let's talk about the last leg of the game, or the last head of the game, should I say? Yeah, Andros is back. Wow, guys, he's back to no good. Back up to no good. All right, so Andros is like a big metal thing now, and he's got a big old prism, kinda. Did you have trouble with Andros, Chris? Did he give you a lot of problems?
A little bit.
A little bit of trouble. I died on him once, and then I was like, all right, enough of this. I'm gonna kill this guy.
I think I died twice. Like Akarosa and some of those other levels of the game that I didn't like so much, it felt very slow to me. Like, you kind of puttering along through little holes, and you poke at his little hands, and like
it's just poking his little hands.
Yeah, you gotta turn into a little bird, and gotta like
what? What part?
Yeah, the
bird,
the walker.
Oh, the okay. I thought the bird meant like the R wing.
No.
Because the R wing is bird-like as well.
Yeah, I guess so.
It turns into a different type of bird, a flightless bird.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you gotta fly out of there, and he explodes. He explodes. And you gotta fly back in.
I don't like that mechanic of the thing, like a big thing.
The big thing happened. You gotta run away.
And then you go. No, that's not fun. It cuts short the whole action of the game.
Oh. All right.
I don't like that.
Yeah, I thought Andros was all right. It sort of ended like he was chasing after you, and I was like, oh man, here we go, the big crazy fight. But then there wasn't a big crazy fight. He just kind of blew up.
Yeah, and I thought there would be like an alternate ending or something, but no, I looked it up. No, there's no other Andros fight, like where he's a brain or whatever.
He's a brain, or he's like some other form. Doesn't have to be the brain. We already did the brain. And speaking of things that we already did, how about that ending? We already did this. You know, it's weird. I don't understand Nintendo's fascination with remaking Star Fox 64. Like, I like Star Fox 64, but it's not like people are like, oh man, Star Fox 64, that ending is so iconic. Oh man, I can't believe how awesome it was when Fox told off General Pepper that he wanted to remain a mercenary. You know, it's like, okay, I mean, I guess it worked fine for that ending. You know, Fox's dad shows up, and it's like, okay, but was he really there? Oh, I don't know. But then they do it again in this game, and it's like,
they remade it shot for shot. Like, it was identical, except it wasn't as good.
Wait, why wasn't it as good?
Because when they were... Okay, so at the end when they're running on the horizon, they're in the walkers, and the walkers are stupid.
That's what I was asking. Yeah. But then the walkers,
and also why it wasn't good, at the very end when they fly off into the sunset or whatever, in Star Fox 64, you hear Andros go, and you're like, oh wow, there's something else that I didn't do, and they didn't do it in this one.
I don't remember that. I don't remember Andros going.
He does.
He just kind of disappeared in the fat air.
That's what happens.
It made you intrigued. I'll tell you why it wasn't as good. Here's the real reason. Because in Star Fox 64, they're like, Fox, what's going on? And Fox is like, oh, I don't know, you guys. I thought I saw my father, but I'm not sure. Father? And this time around, it was like, his dad was there, and they're all hanging out and having tea and stuff. And it's like, this doesn't have any mystery. They're all just hanging out with each other. Having a party. Well, they're having a party with Fox's dad.
That was...
I may have made some of that up, but the spirit was there.
No, that's basically what happened.
It was cool because it was kind of ambiguous, you know. Is he alive? I don't know what's going on, you know. But this one is kind of, it's sort of like,
he's definitely alive.
He's definitely alive. Everybody saw him. We all took pictures.
Yeah.
So that wasn't as good, but I did like the one thing about the ending that I liked was the nod to Mr. Iwata. It said, "This game is dedicated to our wingmen who fell in battle."
Yeah. That was nice.
That was nice. It was a good little nut. Good little nut. Have you played arcade mode?
I started it, but then I just replayed the main mode a couple more times, so I didn't do any more. Is it basically just allows you to play any individual level to get a high score?
No, actually, it's similar to Star Fox 64 in that it's no world map. You just sort of start from the beginning and you go through the game and finish it. What's kind of cool is that it keeps track of your best time for every one of the paths. there's like 20 paths, and you can go to the screen where it lists all of them, you know? And so it shows your time for each one.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool.
So it's kind of neat. I tried to play through it the other day, but then I died at like the level before Venom. I don't know if we're still in spoiler territory, so I won't mention that. But yeah, I died like the second to last level. You have 1 life technically, but if you get 3 rings, 3 gold rings, you get another life. But that's kind of where it ends, like you can't get gold rings. You can't add more than 1 life at a time. So I died like 2 or 3 times, and that was it. Yeah, I messed up. But it's pretty neat little mode that they added there. It's kind of give it a little more of that arcade.
That's kind of punishing, though. I would have hoped that like maybe dying you'd lose points or something, but to end your whole run like that is
you know rough. What? Games that make modes where you have to play through the whole game on 1 life are just the worst.
Yeah,
look
man.
at you.
Who would
trouble?
Oh, seriously, who would make a game like that?
Spell it out in case that was too subtle.
No, it wasn't very subtle.
Yeah. All right. So, Star Fox Zero, I liked it more than Chris, but I would like to hear what you guys have to say about Star Fox Zero. So, who do you agree with more? Me or this guy over here?
I'm the right one. I'm right.
The right one. Wait. The right one.
I'm right. I'm right because okay, Star Fox Zero should be called Star Fox Zero Ideas because this game has no new ideas.
What? Wait,
it has no new ideas.
Wait. It has plenty of new ideas. You just pooed all over them. You pooed all over the direct eye and his awesome mechanic of wiggling down on the tether. You pooed all over Zonus and its awesome mechanic of invisible walls. And what else did you? I guess that was about it.
This game is terrified to be something new. Not only does it rehash everything from Star Fox 64, it doesn't do so in a innovative new way. I really think that the new mechanics such as the walker and the hovercraft and the robot, what's it called?
Direct Eye.
Direct Eye, yeah. All that stuff could have been removed from the game. They did really good things with the score mechanics and the combos. Many of the levels were well designed and fun, but even in those, the control scheme is a bit of a drag. Doing something with the gamepad could have been cool. On paper, I'm a big fan of the gamepad. I like the idea of asynchronous gaming and of having experiences with the gyros and the screen and whatever. Doing something with that, like maybe it could be a gun turret, and you have some levels where you're mainly like switching between gun turrets and on the Great Fox, and you're having to shoot things. I don't know. The point is, I don't think that the controls added anything to the game. I think it's only it's generally a mild distraction, and there are points at which it becomes a significant problem. But overall, I mean, it's not a bad game, but I do think it's kind of a frustrating game because it could have been more, especially if they had designed it from the ground up to be something more than a Star Fox 64 reboot. I think that would have helped it a lot. But I get that nowadays with branding, like, everyone knows the Star Fox cast. It probably makes more financial sense to just use what people already know. But I think that's unfortunate.
All right. So those are Chris's closing thoughts
on
Star Fox Zero. Here are mine. I went into this game with the lowest of expectations. I expected a bunch of mess. I expected a big mess. Big mess with the controls. Big mess with the retelling of the story. I got not a big mess at all. A few little messes here and there. Like Chris said, the gyro controls are kind of funky. The direct eye is a little slow. Not really necessary. It's kind of a weird experiment. I do disagree that this game has zero new ideas. Zero new ideas in terms of story, definitely. The beginning of the game, the end of the game, and certain plot elements are very similar to past games, but at the same time, I think it takes a lot of risks. I think it takes some risks with the controls, obviously, since that's such a huge point of contention with so many reviewers. I think it takes some risks with adding in some new vehicles and trying to keep players on top of those control schemes. I find the controls, I wouldn't want them to be in every Star Fox game from here on out or anything like that, but I do actually find them very rewarding to try to multitask and do as much as possible. I think that the levels are very dense. They're very they have a lot of stuff to do. Not all of them. A lot of the bonus levels are just sort of whatever, but like the main levels in the game, there's a lot of like hidden areas. There's a lot of formations that kind of line up specific ways, and there's you know, there's alternate ways to kill bosses and stuff. And it feels like going for a high score is rewarding, and it's fun, and it feels like a challenge, which is one of the things I really like from games, is games that challenge me.
Yep.
And I think it captures that spirit of kind of high-octane Platinum games pretty well. It's not quite as like Star Wars with, you know, Fox McCloud as I was hoping, but at the same time, it's kind of this weird sort of experimental thing that ended up honestly really working for me for the most part. So that's us on Star Fox Zero.
It's the tightness of the gameplay in Star Fox 64 and in the original Star Fox that I think worked really well for this type of game. And it's that tightness that is kind of missing from Zero that has been my main complaint. In those other games, I felt a much firmer connection to the gameplay, and I think that the control scheme has really lessened that effect for me. It's an alright game, it's okay, but I think it could have been a pretty good game if those control issues had been resolved in one way or another.
So let us know what you think in the comments section. We're going to have a comments sort of part of the podcast in the future where we pick out a few comments and discuss them and pick them apart and such.
Yep.
So yeah, sound off in the comments section. So Star Fox Zero also comes with a second game, Star Fox Guard. Wow, guy! Star Fox Guard is a packaged-in game with the retail game Star Fox Zero. So for $60 you can get both of them, or for $50 you can get Star Fox Zero by itself, and $15 I believe Star Fox Guard is available digitally.
Yep.
So you can save a whole $5 and buy them together, or you could just heed Chris's advice and pick up Star Fox Guard, not Star Fox Zero at all.
Yeah, you can just get Star Fox Zero from GameFly like I did, or something. Play it for free and then don't play it again.
It's terrible advice. So Star Fox Guard involves Slippy's uncle Grippy, and the game says these mines are manned by one grippy toad. And I like that because it reminded me of, it just made me think of like one really grippy toad, you know? This guy's one grippy toad. You think you've seen some grippy toads in your time, but oh man.
Well, you know, I really like the art, the main art, the box art of this game. It made me hope that there was going to be a lot more character interaction. I like Grippy, he's pretty funny, but Slippy and Grippy don't really interact that much.
Not so much.
Yeah, it's more just about the gameplay itself, which is pretty good. If you've ever played a tower defense game, Star Fox Guard is essentially a Star Fox tower defense game, in which enemies try to invade this base. You can't design the base, but you can place your cameras around the level. And there, on the main screen, you see all the cameras, which are 12 different cameras. So there's a lot to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
And each one has a laser gun attached to it. So you select that camera, and then you can shoot things with the gamepad. It's done pretty well. You gain upgrades as you play the game that allow the cameras to do a little bit more. You are introduced to various different enemies that have different abilities that can disable cameras or destroy them, or otherwise obscure your vision as they try to go destroy the main center of the base.
Trip you up in general, yeah.
It's pretty good. I thought it would be nice if there was a little bit more give and take with the game. If one of the combat foes gets directly to the center of your base, which can happen in maybe only 5 or 10 seconds, you lose the level.
Yep.
I think I would have preferred something with a little more give and take, like, you know, they do
like
damage to it.
Or something.
Yeah, and or something more like other tower defense games where some of your towers could at least, you know, shoot automatically. Have some sort of. It felt less like there was a tide coming in and out, rather than it feels more like you're just trying to hold on as long as you can until the last moment. So it's kind of an intense feeling rather than
intense,
than a give and take. But I liked it. I've only played about half of the levels, I guess, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's. I mean, I guess it kind of is a tower defense, but
yeah,
I sort of I see those as slightly more hands off. Like it's more like you're placing stuff to defend for you. And this, it's more like a first-person shooter times 12. I don't really know how to describe it. It's
that's a good point.
Yeah, it does have tower defense elements in that you are literally defending a mechanical tower in this case. I find this game's pretty fun in multiplayer, actually. There's not actually a multiplayer mode, but when you're playing with other people, especially on like an intense level, they'll start shouting out the numbers, you know, for whatever's coming up. And they did this at E3 a couple years ago whenever they had the Project Guard. It was pretty much the same thing, except it was a lot more difficult because they just had way more robots. So you have like the booth people shouting in your ear, you get bystanders shouting in your ear, and they still kind of retain that whole like you know, if you're playing with someone else, they're just yelling at you the whole time. Much like Uncle Grippy on the cover of Star Fox Guard. He's sort of grabbing, he's sort of grabbing Slippy's shoulder and pointing at the screen and yelling. Slippy's freaking out.
Yeah, I thought this was gonna be Slippy's game, man.
Oh, you were hoping to play as Slippy, huh?
Yeah, like I'm Slippy and I think's going crazy. Oh god!
Yeah, I mean he pipes up from time to time, but yeah, it does seem like he's sort of floating around in his R-wing, not really helping out.
Yeah, what a bum.
What a bum. That's Slip.
Slippy's useless. He's useless.
He's not useless. He makes enemy shield analyzed.
That's not useful.
You know, the enemy shield is useful. You get to know how close you are to defeating something.
Yeah, but it doesn't affect your actions.
It makes you fire more because you realize how much life they have left.
Oh, okay.
Actually, yeah, I'm curious about that. Do boss life meters affect how you play the game?
Not in Star Fox, I wouldn't think, because they're weak points. You're looking for the weak points, and you shoot the weak point, and that's it. In other games,
I mean, just in general, when you know what you're hitting, when you know what you're supposed to hit, and you can hit it.
Yeah.
Does seeing the boss's life affect how you play? Like, does it make you play more aggressively, more defensively?
I don't think so, because in most games they have a visual indicator for how damaged the boss is. Like they'll flash red, or the color changes, or they start acting differently, so they go to the next phase.
Were you thinking of I mean, you're thinking of. I think that's more of like a earlier kind of arcade games, like Metal Slug or something, or Ninja Turtles.
Zelda does that.
Zelda. I mean, they don't really have the flashing boss so much. I guess they do in some games.
No, yeah.
I think about it.
Or they start smoking or something.
Yeah. I mean, they'll adjust their attacks. I'm thinking of like Wind Waker and Ocarina of Time, and I don't think they flashed in those, but I think they flashed in some of the handheld ones. I'm having trouble remembering boss flash now. I
don't think seeing the boss's health really changes much, because in a general boss fight in a game, you're figuring out, the mechanics to how to land a hit and not take damage, and at every possible opportunity, you're making that trade. You're getting a hit and you're escaping the retaliation.
Yeah.
Knowing whether that's the last hit or not, I don't know that would affect one's behavior.
Well, let's say you're low on life and the boss is high on life.
Right.
It's high on life. Anyway, the boss has a lot of life. Wouldn't you play a little more defensively then? Like, I'm going to pop him a couple times and be really careful not to get hit because I know I got a long battle ahead of me. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. I still think Slippy is useful. He's a lovely frog.
You're welcome to that incorrect opinion.
All right, so let's move on to why do they do that. So for why do they do that today, I have a story to tell. It's a story of the Wii U. Ooh. The Wii U, our beloved system. It does not have very much coming out this year, unfortunately.
No.
But hang on, dear reader. I'm not going to just chew out Nintendo again. That's what the whole last podcast was for. But I'm going to chew out Nintendo a little bit. I'm not really sure who's responsible for this in particular. But anyway, we have Paper Mario Color Splash coming out on the Wii U, which is like kind of ways down the line. We don't have Zelda, but we do have another game coming out that is, there's a little hope for us, okay? There's a Shin Megami Tensei Fire Emblem crossover game, all right? So it's like, oh, fancy. That means we can appeal to the Mega 10 people, we can appeal to the Fire Emblem people, we get a little more momentum, right? We can appeal to two fan bases. Big crossover. People love crossover. Smash Brothers, that's about it. I can think there's Mario and Sonic at the Olympics. All right. So anyway, we got our Mega 10 Fire Emblem crossover. People are so excited about this when this was announced like back in 2002 or whenever. So what should we title this game? Maybe Persona Cross Fire Emblem? Huh? That sounds good. Let you know what it is. No, we're not going to title it that. We're going to title it a bunch of gibberish that means nothing.
Oh.
Yeah. Shin Megami Tensei and Fire Emblem crossover together to make this glorious game called Tokyo Mirage Sessions #FE. Alright? That's the name of the game. That's what they've decided to go with. Okay? What does this title tell us? It tells us, okay, it's in Tokyo. Alright? There's a Mirage somewhere in the game, okay? And there are sessions. This game has sessions. That's a selling point. Alright, it's about time I had a game with sessions in it. That's terrific. I'm so excited about these sessions. And then #FE, what is that? What's that supposed to mean? No, that could be instead for anything.
I think you're missing the point, Matthew. You're missing the point.
What?
The point is that these words will all tell a teenage audience that this is a hip game that they want to play.
Oh, is that the gambit they're going for?
Yeah.
Okay, because hip teenagers are looking for some stylish games on the Wii U.
Well,
I guess okay. I guess I will entertain that notion, but I think it's dumb. I mean, who's going to see this on a shelf and have any idea what it is?
Anybody who knows what a hashtag is. They'll go like, oh, I like the hashtag. I'll buy this game.
That's the plan?
I think so.
You put a hashtag in your game and all the Twitter people are going to just jump on it?
Yeah, they should have done Star Fox #0.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Yep.
It's brilliant. You've changed my mind on this.
Tadpole #trouble.
Tadpole #trouble. It's so dumb. It doesn't make any sense. So then I read somewhere that Tokyo Mirage Sessions is very clever because it's actually SMT in reverse. If you take the acronym of it, right? All right.
What?
TMS. See? So everyone's going to obviously know that's a Shin Megami Tensei game because of that title.
That's stupid.
This is like naming like a Metroid and Metal Gear crossover, Jellyfish Espionage Scenarios #YOLO.
No, that's too descriptive. I would know what that is.
You would know what that is. Jellyfish and Espionage. Obviously Metroid and Metal Gear. But Tokyo Mirage Sessions.
It sounds like a music game.
I'm excited for Sessions.
Yeah.
I like my games with sessions in them.
Well, what are sessions? Sessions are like...
I don't know what a session is.
Like therapy is a session.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Music is a session.
You can have a music session. You can have a therapy session. So, okay, may have some of that in there. What could the FE stand for? I mean, that could stand for anything. Could be like female, #females. Maybe females in this game. All right.
Yeah.
Got some ladies here. There's a Mirage. There's some sessions. There's probably Tokyo.
Stands for iron, like, you know...
Oh, yeah.
The chemical iron.
You're right. Could be iron. #iron. Hashtag. Oh, I hate the word hashtag. So, to Atlas and whoever else is responsible to this, I have to pose the question, why do they do that?
Because they thought it would sell well, I'm sure. That's usually the answer, unfortunately.
That is usually the answer, but I don't understand why they thought that name would sell well. It's so weird. Oh, well. Anyway, Chris, do you have a why did they do that for us?
Zonus is terrible. Why did they put that in the game? They only put that in the game because they wanted to act like they had some new ideas with the stupid gyrocopter and the dumb robot, and they don't have new ideas. They
had new ideas. You just didn't like them.
Yeah, well, they weren't good,
but they were new. Like flying around a polluted wasteland in a very slow-moving helicopter with his robot buddy. That's new.
I stand corrected. The title should be Star Fox Zero Good Ideas. That's the new. That's what it should be. You're right.
Star Fox Zero #good.
Yep.
Sessions. All right, shall we wrap up this podcast session?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
#kill me.
Ugh.
All right, folks. I like Star Fox. Chris is kind of middling on it. Had some strong, bold words from a bold man.
It's okay. It just could have been better. And Star Fox Guard is pretty good. So.
Did you like any of the dialogue or the voice acting? You know,
I was disappointed by that. I thought it felt a little stiffer than like the original, than Star Fox 64, and it rehashed a lot of things. Oh, we didn't talk about this. Like
there were some callback. Yeah, we didn't talk about this. there were a few. I mean, there were definitely lines that they brought back from Star Fox 64.
A lot of them, man.
Yeah.
Freaking Peppy, a barrel roll, barrel roll. That was Peppy. That was Peppy in this game.
Wait, what are you referring to exactly?
Every other word that Peppy said is like barrel roll.
That is not true. He says it one time in the whole game.
No.
All right, hang on. I take that back. He says it one time throughout the normal course of the game.
Only once?
Yeah, he says do a barrel roll in Sector Alpha, and Slippy says it in Titania because Peppy's gone. So Slippy is like Slippy says it.
Okay, yeah, but he also says it in the level where you.
Wait, that's a spoiler. Look, I like that. I thought that was really good. I thought that was really good.
Okay. You know, actually, I have another complaint about these all-range mode levels that have timers on them. I lost that level because I couldn't find the last cannon. I was flying all around the thing, and I had one cannon left, and I couldn't find it. Yeah. And I had to redo the level, which is dumb.
Look, that's not a complaint. That's just you losing at the level.
No, this is time limited.
Your complaint basically said, this game proposed a challenge and I died, so it's dumb.
I had 2 minutes left, and I flew all around the thing. I was looking all over the place, and like, there's no indicator. It wasn't shooting at me. There wasn't anything to make it.
Chris,
what?
Did you do a barrel roll?
No, I didn't.
I did not. No, Peppy, I refuse.
I did one, and he said it, and then I'm like, oh, I'm not doing that again.
Oh, come on, that was all right. That was all right. I mean, I know the whole meme thing is like overdone and everything, but that's kind of funny to think that Peppy is always doing that in his ship. I don't know. I like that.
It's funny if it was Brawl in the Family. It's not. It's like in this game, it came across as they're like, "Hey guys, barrel rolls are funny. People like barrel rolls, so let's have people say that again."
It was one section of the game that's kind of devoted to that. It's like, okay, I can let it slide.
No, because it's not like Peppy is actually walking around like being obsessed with barrel rolls. They just put it in there in one level, and because they thought it'd be. They thought people would think it's funny, and it's not. It's not funny.
I thought that's pretty funny. All right, so sound off in the comments if you thought Peppy's barrel roll level was funny.
But most of the dialogue,
the hashtag.
Did they have the same actors as Star Fox 64?
They had some of the same ones. I think Fox was the same. They had. I don't know exactly. I liked Slippy's voice more this time around.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think Slippy's voice has kind of been a problem in some games, but yeah.
I thought Star Wolf had decent voices, but I didn't really like Fox, Peppy, and Fox was okay, I guess. I didn't like Peppy and Falco too much. I didn't like Cat either. Every time Cat shows up, she says like, "Hey there, big boy." And
hey there, big boy. Why don't you come see me sometime?
And the music plays every single time.
I mean, I think you should go back and play Star Fox 64 because a lot of these things kind of apply to that. Really? I mean, like her music plays every time she talks in Star Fox 64.
I don't remember that. Okay,
and she still kind of talks like Mae West.
She doesn't do anything. She didn't do anything.
Hey there, big boy. Did you play Fortuna?
Yes.
She showed up in Fortuna, big boy.
I
could kiss you for that.
Oh, that chickaboo up front got its feathers ruffled. She says that.
It's great.
That's all she does.
Actually, I don't remember that. I vaguely remember that. Star Fox, man, what a great series. What a majestic freaking series. Alright, well folks, I think that'll wrap up yet another podcast for us. Next time around, we're excited because we're going to talk about E3.
Oh, that's going to be a positive one.
Bound to be amazing stuff shown. So we're super excited. Leave some comments, let us know what you think. And, the Brawl in the Family books are now on sale, so go buy my books, make me rich! Alright, so signing off, I'm Matthew.
And I'm Chris.
Thank you, folks. And,
thanks for joining us.
Talk to you next time. Wah, wah, wah. I like that. What is that? What is that? Where'd that come from?
My mouth.
It's a thing that you do. It's a thing that you do. I like it. It's like when you don't know what's going on, you go, It's like, hey Chris, what do you want to eat today for supper? You go, Yeah, it's like this weird little sigh.
I hadn't noticed that.
You hadn't noticed that noise that you make? Huh.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you've brought my attention to that.
Kind of feels good in my throat to do that. Miyamoto. What? Well, what the heck? No, really? Hang on a second. You gotta give me a second to hang on. Wait. No, wait, hang on. This doesn't give me a whole lot of...